Doing the right thing is almost always going to feel wrong. How in the world does that make sense? Shouldn't doing the right thing always feel right? Not before you do it, even not when you're doing it. And I want to give you an example. It's a made up example, but it's based on a true story. I'm just switching the names up, and I haven't met these people, but I've heard this story. Okay? For those of you who've been watching the videos, you'll know about Candace and Jeremy, right? Phineas and Ferb fans, you should definitely know about Candace and Jeremy, but this is a different Candace and Jeremy, okay? Candace and Jeremy are high school sweethearts. Jeremy was head over heels for Candace. He loved everything about her. He loved the way she smelled. He loved the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches she would make for him. He loved going to the movies and spending time with her. He loved doing little things for her. He loved Candace so much that he decided he was going to marry Candace. And over time, they started planning the wedding. They started figuring out what they were going to do, who they were going to invite. But they realized they disagreed on a lot of fundamental things. Not just flowers, not just who they should invite and shouldn't invite, but how many kids they want. What city they want to live in. How many dogs, or if they want to have any dogs. He realized Candace was a cat person. She didn't even like dogs. And no, she didn't have a pet platypus in this version. But Candace was a cat person. She didn't like dogs at all. And the more they started talking about planning their life together, something that they didn't do when they were just enjoying being with one another, the more they realized, or the more Jeremy realized, it wasn't really a good fit. It wasn't the fit that he thought it was. But what do they do now? They've sent out the invitations. Candace is still happy. She's so excited to marry Jeremy. It seems like she hasn't noticed any of the things, any of the red flags that Jeremy sees coming. But he feels it. He feels it in his gut. And he knows the right choice is to end things with Candace. There are fundamental things that he wants in his life, like kids, that she doesn't want. And he never thought to ask her until it was time to start planning the wedding. Now, could Jeremy have thought about these things earlier and talked to Candace about them earlier before they planned a wedding? Sure. That would have been the right thing to do. But what does Jeremy do now that the wedding is planned? Everything is in order. His fiancée is head over heels for him, more in love than ever, even despite the differences, and is also very excited to have her day that she's dreamed of since she was a little girl. Jeremy doesn't want to mess that up. Jeremy doesn't want to be the villain. He doesn't want to be the guy that ruined this dream day. But Jeremy also knows that what's right for Jeremy and what's right for Candace and everyone involved is for him to be with somebody who sees eye to eye with him on how many kids, what type of pets, and what type of future they should have. For Candace, for Jeremy, and for all of those who love either of them or both of them. That in the long run is going to be the right thing. But 9 times out of 10, you've been in a situation similar to Jeremy's. You might not have been on the brink of marrying somebody that you all of a sudden realize you might not be the best fit for. But there are other situations that you've probably let progress way too far, and you didn't say anything about them because you didn't want to hurt feelings. You probably let yourself get pushed into the background in certain situations where you knew you should have spoken up. And you saw things crash and burn when you knew they would. And you had the solution. I'm going to give an example out of my life because, yeah, Candace and Jeremy are cool. And I think I'll bring him back for some more episodes. I might bring in some new characters. Who knows? Subscribe to see, and also let me know how you felt about Jeremy and Candace, or give me some ideas of some other names I could use. That would also be cool. I'll kind of scan through and see who might make it onto the next episode when I need some names to pull from. But in this situation, I'm going to go with a situation from my life. So it's just going to be Anthony and his family. My grades freshman year were really good. Really good. And sophomore year, classes got a little bit harder. Basketball got a little more intense. I was a part of the varsity team as well, and practicing more, going on more road trips, coming back home later, and just along with the more intense school work and more loads of homework and just being overall more busy, I ended up slipping in my grades. Not failing any classes, but it wasn't my best. And my parents recognized that. And so they decided to help me focus on school more, that they were going to take away my Xbox. I'm a 15, 16-year-old kid who grew up loving video games and was never really grounded from video games. I was not allowed to go outside and play with my friends every now and then. I normally kept my nose pretty clean, but there were certain situations where my parents said, hey, look, no, you're not doing that today. Try again some other time. But in this situation, it wasn't really a big punishment. It was more my parents wanting me to do my best and put me in a situation to be my best. And so I basically talked my way into being able to keep my Xbox, because I said, hey, I watch movies on there and do different things as well. It's not just playing NBA 2K, which was the game that was taking up a lot of time. In hindsight, looking at it, it was taking up a lot of time. And it's possible that it was detracting from my focus when it comes to schoolwork, because the time at home I could have spent doing schoolwork instead of playing NBA 2K. So I see where they were coming from with this. And I know my dad watches these videos. I don't know if he knows what happened here, but they ended up taking my NBA 2K privileges, and they took the disc. And I was ready to be on board with this, I don't want to call it a punishment, this adjustment, let's call it. I was ready to be on board with it, but then I discovered that for some reason, I'm still able to play NBA 2K even without the disc. The right thing to say in that situation, would have probably been, if I wanted to be in line with what my parents' plan was to say, hey, for some reason I'm still able to play NBA 2K. And yeah, maybe you should take the Xbox. That's like full goody two shoes. Basically what I should have done. Next right thing to do would have been, hey, I have an agreement with my parents. Yeah, it's possible for me to play NBA 2K, but there's a reason why they're wanting me to not play it, and I'm going to honor that because the agreement was, hey, when your next report card comes out and your grades are better, we'll let you play again. That would have been the next right thing to do. There is a third right thing that I just wasn't mature enough to realize, though. It was this. NBA 2K had become a necessary escape for me. And I know it sounds crazy, but anyone who plays video games will understand this. Leisure time and time to unplug or be social with friends and just not be too serious, just be in a fictional world and do fictional things and, like I said, escape. Especially at that age where You're going through puberty. School is tough. Sports, in my situation, was very tough. A lot of stuff that I had to work through. I was in my formative years as a man, and just going through the different tests that young men go through when they transition from boyhood to manhood. I don't want to get into the details of my basketball journey in this video because I'm already at 10 minutes. I'm making a 10-minute YouTube, at least 10-minute video, at least a 10-minute YouTube video every single day here. So it's definitely going to be a topic that comes up. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that, if you want to hear that. If you're a basketball player, if you're an athlete, or if you're just somebody who wants to hear my experience, make sure you're subbed. But I'm not going to get too deep into that. But things were tough, and it was weighing on me. But I didn't really communicate that to my parents. I just said, okay, I'm going to play the game secretly. And I'm going to lie to my parents. I think this is the only time I really lied to my parents. It was, and that tells me, looking back on it, that tells me and that shows me how tough of a place I was in. How much I needed that escape. And I do feel like my parents were understanding enough that if I would have had the wherewithal, I don't want to get into too complicated words. I don't know. Is wherewithal a complicated word? Maybe not. But I wasn't aware enough to realize that I needed that escape. I was just in survival mode. And you might be in that type of situation as well. Jeremy found himself in survival mode, hanging on to a relationship that he knew wasn't the right one anymore, wasn't destined to go for the long run, but he's so deep into it already. It feels like there's no escape, but he knows he should get out. And that's how I was in my situation. And of course, like it always does, it came out. It came out that I had secretly been playing, and all of the emotions, all of the stress, all of the pain, all of the suffering. I'll call it suffering because I was suffering. It's not by any means, it was all first world problems. I'm blessed to, my camera cut off there, but I'm blessed to say that my biggest problems were on the basketball court or my grades not being what I wanted them to be. And still, I was suffering. Still, I was stressed. Still, I was at a point where I felt a constant pressure on my chest that I couldn't get rid of. And one of the few places where I didn't feel that was playing video games. And thinking back to it, I do wish I would have been able to express that to my parents. When I did have that just emotional release, when my mom discovered the truth, my mom did say, I wish you would have told me. I wish I would have known how important that was to you and maybe would have done things differently. So big shout out to my parents because I wouldn't be who I am without them. They were extremely understanding, extremely open, but at the same time challenged me to always be my best and be the best version of myself. And I love them dearly. I'm here at home in the States from playing professional basketball, visiting them, just enjoying that time and being back here reminds me of stories like this. And yeah, it's a little uncomfortable to share. It's a little vulnerable, but I hope it's something that you can take with you and relate to and understand, because we all have situations that we're not proud of, and we all have situations where we feel like we're backed into the corner. But hindsight is always going to tell you, you should have done what you knew was right. That would have been best for everyone involved. And just like my mom said, she wishes she would have known. Instead of me hiding my emotions, what I was dealing with, the pressure I was feeling, she wanted to know. And in the case of Jeremy and Candace, I think when all things are said and done and all the emotions settle, Candace would want to know how Jeremy feels, even if she doesn't like it in the moment, even if it hurts her, even if she might not be able to forgive him for letting things go on so long. She would want to know the truth. So be honest with yourself, be honest with those around you, do what you feel is right, and you'll be able to forgive yourself no matter what happens. You can trust me on that one. And always remember, the best is yet to come. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow or on the next video, which you should find here. Option to subscribe so you don't miss my daily videos, as usual, is here. I will see you wherever you choose to see me next.